It's your favorite YouTube dealer. I appreciate you guys for stopping in. We're gonna dive into some Macklemore today. I have not seen this man drop music in a minute, and maybe I just haven't been paying attention, but he dropped something called HIND'S, and I'm pretty sure that this has to do with a lot of the stuff that's going on as far as war and all of that, which I'm not gonna lie and act like I'm super up on everything because I'm not, but I'll be educating myself little by little. I just figured we dive into this. I see it going crazy, and I want to see what my man's talking about. So let's get into it. Let's find out.
Yeah, the people they won't leave. What is threatening about divesting and want a piece? The problem isn't the protests, it's what they're protesting. It goes against what our country is funding. Block the barricade until Palestine is free. Block the barricade until Palestine is free. When I was 7, I learned a lesson from Cuban Eazy-E. What was it again? Oh yeah, fuck the police. Actors and badges protecting property.
Yo, I like that. I like that. Hold on, let me go back real quick. I rock with that. As far as protests go, I'm not against protests because obviously you need to bring attention to things, right? At the same time, I feel like there are some protests that just seem kind of toxic in the sense that it's like you're getting in the street and you're blocking people that may even rock with your cause, but just don't have time to go to the protest because they have bills. They got to get to work. You know what I'm saying? They might just not be in a position to be able to go to that protest, but now you're trying to stop them from going to work when they're not trying to do anything to you at all. Like that kind of stuff gets to me a little bit, but at the same time, I do understand the argument of if you're not disrupting shit, nobody's really paying attention to you, right? So I kind of get it from both sides, but it's like if I have to get to work or I have to get somewhere important, I got a doctor's appointment, some like you don't know what everybody has going on, right? Like I might be trying to get to my mother's house because something bad is going on, and I'm trying to, and you're blocking the street because you're doing a protest. And I like I said, I can understand it, but at the same time, it's like your fight isn't against me. You know what I'm saying? Like I might be on your side. Your fight is against the people that are doing these things that you're trying to change. And so I feel like disrupting everyday people's life is not always the best option. Does that make sense? Like 'cause I try to like. I guess I'm Mr. Neutral over here because I try to be on both sides of it, but I can see it from both sides, but I just don't think that interrupting people's day-to-day lives when you don't know what they have going on. And again, I get it. People are like, well, what's going on over there is more important than this. Well, you know what, though? That person who's maybe going to see his mom or something or has something, to them, that's going to be more important because that's their family, right? Family is always going to trump everything for me, 100%. It doesn't mean that I don't care about stuff going on in other countries or stuff that could potentially affect us or is just affecting a lot of people that are innocent and don't deserve to be going through something. I'm on board with that. I really am. But at the same time, if there's something happening amongst my family or my own health or like, again, you don't know what these people are driving towards. So like, that's it's a you know what I'm saying? It's a back and forth for me. It's a double-edged sword.
It's against what our country is funding. Block the barricade until Palestine is free. Block the barricade until Palestine is free. When I was 7, I learned a lesson from Cuban Eazy-E. What was it again? Oh yeah, fuck the police. Woo! Actors and badges protecting property and a system that was designed by white supremacy. But the people are in the streets. You can pay off Meta, you can't pay off me. Politicians who serve by any means. APAC, Kofi, and all the companies. You see, we sell fear around the land of the free. But this generation here is about to cut the strings. You can ban TikTok, take us out the algorithm, but it's too late. We've seen the truth, we bear witness. Seen the rubble, the buildings, the mothers, and the children, and all the men that you murdered. And then we see how you spin it. Who gets the right to defend and who gets the right of resistance. It's always been about dollars and the color of your pigment. But white supremacy is finally on blast, screaming free Palestine to their home at last. We see the lies and claiming it's anti-Semitic to be anti-Zionist. I seen Jewish brothers and sisters out there and riding in solidarity and screaming free Palestine with them organizing and learning and finally cutting ties with the state that's gotta rely on apartheid system to uphold an occupying violent history. Been repeating for the last 75. The neck but never ended, the colonizer lied.
Outside of what he's talking about, my man's cooking like this. It just sounds good. It's audibly pleasing. Like this rapping is actually fire. So he's talking about a lot of things, and I don't deny that. Like, so here's my take on a lot of this, right? As far as like the system, right? So I do believe that obviously it was built at a time when people were very racist. That it's clear, but there's not anything specifically within the system, so to speak, that says like you can't do this for a black person or a black person can't be hired here. Like all of that shit no longer exists. What does exist is some specific people that are in positions of power that potentially can be racist, that can potentially still push these narratives, right? Like if I go to a company and I go and try to get myself hired, it doesn't mean that that company is racist. It could just it like I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. Like it doesn't mean that the company is racist if it seems like they never hire black people. It could be a number of different things. Maybe the people that went there just weren't qualified, right? But it also could be that maybe the person that is hiring is racist, but it doesn't mean the entire company is. It's just that someone got into a position that has the choice making that is doing something wrong. It doesn't mean that every single person in there follows the same narrative, right? They may not even realize that it's going on. They're just going about their day-to-day life. So there's a lot of different ways of looking at it, and I feel like you can't just kind of corner it into one potential idea that you have in your head because there's it's nuanced just like life. Like there's a lot of complexities to life and it's something we always got to look at. So that's the way I see the system and all that kind of stuff. Like I don't feel like it's like, yo, as a country it's racist and it's positioned in this very specific way. Are there some people in power that might feel that way and might push the narrative and be able to do that on a grander scale? 100%. But as a whole, I don't think that that's the case. And I think as years go on and you get the younger generations in some of these positions, you'll have less and less of that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I get where people are coming from with it. Now, as far as that you can ban TikTok, take us out the algorithm, a lot of people think that they're getting rid of TikTok because of the fact that they're showing a lot of shit that they don't want shown. And they're not policing it the same way as they can make some of these other platforms police it. And that partially could be true. But then there's also the argument of the information that they're gathering and is going to countries that don't like us. Right. So I don't know because I don't know enough. I'm not on the inside of all of this. I can only see what I'm seeing on the internet, read, ingest. And again, I feel like both sides kind of can make sense, right? Like maybe there is information going that we don't want to go, but maybe the argument is it's not bad enough to really ban the app. And they're using that as the excuse to take it out the algorithm because of all this other stuff that's going on that they don't want shown on there. I don't know, right? Like, so I feel like more people should be more open-minded to really trying to take in all sides of it because you don't 100% know. Now, I don't disagree with taking a side or picking like, okay, I think this or I think that. But when people go extreme to the point where they're so convinced that they will literally start calling you names or labeling you as something because you don't agree exactly with what they say, that's when it starts to get tricky for me. And I feel like those people are a little bit goofy because again, none of us 100% know. We can gather information and make a decision on it, but it's no different than say somebody going to court who potentially did something and there's some evidence that shows that maybe they did it, but also some evidence that shows that maybe they didn't. And a jury of 12 decides. There's been people that go to jail that don't deserve to be there. There's been people that get off that don't deserve to get off, right? And it's no different with this. Like we might be getting the information and making our assessment of it, but it doesn't there's no 100% way of being like, well, I'm definitely right or I'm wrong, unless there's clear cut 100% like, here, look at this. This is what, you know, does that make sense? I'm waffling at this point, but I'm just trying to put it out there. I try to play both sides because I feel like being neutral and getting the information is more important than jumping to a side.
It's out the algorithm, but it's too late. We've seen the truth, we bear witness. Seen the rubble, the buildings, the mothers and the children, and all the men that you murdered, and then we see how you spin it.
By the way, what's going on over there, extremely sad. Nothing I'm talking about has to do specifically with that as of right now. I'm just talking more so some of these little comments about TikTok and, you know, this, that, and the third. But what's happening over there from what I've is just one of the most horrible things ever. And it's just sad that as humans, we continue to go down this path over and over and over again, just in different areas of the world.
Who gets the right to defend and who gets the right of resistance has always been about dollars and the color of your pigment. But white supremacy is finally on blast, screaming free Palestine to their homeland last. We see the lies and claiming it's anti-Semitic to be anti-Zionist. I seen Jewish brothers and sisters out there and riding in solidarity and screaming free Palestine with them organizing and learning and finally cutting ties with the state that's gotta rely on apartheid system to uphold an occupying violent history been repeating for the last 75. The Nakba never ended, the colonizer lied. It's students in tents, posted on the lawn, occupying the quad is really against the law. And a reason to call in the police and their squad where there's genocide land in your definition, huh? Destroying every college in Gaza and every mosque.
I want to say that this college thing became a big debate a little bit on Twitter amongst people like Asmund Gold saying that they shouldn't be blocking people, right? And other people saying, well, they could just go around. And so I fall kind of on both sides, right? Like, I don't think there's anything wrong. I think doing this at the college is not a horrible idea. But if you are purposely trying to be like, yo, you can't go this way, like you blocking people from getting to their class or getting somewhere and they have to walk a long way around, is it the end of the world? No. But at the same time, it's like, your fight isn't against me. I'm just a student here. I'm just trying to get to class and learn and do shit. You know what I'm saying? So why is it that my life is being affected for you to try to make a point? Like I don't get it. Like if I was trying to make a point, I don't know. It just seems weird to me. Like I guess I just don't understand that. Again, I do get that you have to make some shit disrupted to get that attention, because otherwise you just stand in there and everyone's just going to ignore you. That's how a lot of people feel, and that probably is the truth to an extent. But at the same time, it's like you're disrupting people that again might be on your side and people that have nothing to do with what you're trying to fight for. So it's like you got to like create a victim so you can get heard to try to save these other people. And don't get me wrong, like you being blocked from going to class is not the same as what's going on in these other countries. I'm not even beginning to try to compare it like that, because that's not even the same at all. It's a completely different scale of measure. But I'm just saying, like, there's no reason to put one person off and put and like, well, it's only making your life a little bit more difficult, so it's okay that we do it because we're trying to make this happen. But in reality, like, you're turning people against you. Like there's some people that if they continue have to like, oh, I can't drive through here. I can't do that. Oh, you're blocking me. I'm late to work. Now I got in trouble at work. Da, 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 da. Like they start to be like, you know what? F your cause, because you're ruining my life. Like now I've gotten in trouble at work. I've got a point. I've got a mark on my record when I've been perfect attendance or whatever it is. And again, I get it. I'm not saying that it's worse than what's happening over there, but it's like you're making these people dislike you, because at the end of the day, most people are going to care mostly about what's happening in their own life, what's happening to their family first and foremost, and then they can still care about everything outside of that. But your own initial bubble is always going to be the most important thing to, I'd say, 80% of people in the world. And some people might think that that's a bad thing. I don't think that it is. I think that that's the way that you need to handle it, right? Like I can care about what's happening to people around me, but I want to make sure that I'm good and my family's good first. And then from there, I use my extra time to care about and push all these different narratives, right? So like when you try to upset that bubble, like you're gonna make me not want to help on the other side of things. Does that make any sense?
Behind the quad is really against the law, and a reason to call in the police and their squad. Where does genocide land in your definition, huh? Destroying every college in Gaza and every mosque, pushing everyone into Rafah and dropping bombs. The blood is on your hands, Biden, we can see it all. And fuck no, I'm not voting for you in the fall. Undecided, you can't twist the truth. The people out here united, never be defeated when freedom's on the horizon. Yet the music industry's quiet, complicit in their platform of silence. What happened to the artist? What you gotta say? If I was on a label, you could drop me today.
I like how we showed a picture of Pac, because Pac is somebody, like if Pac was still alive, Pac would be going hard on all these different topics, 100%, with no care of how it affected him at all. And so I give him props for that, because he's one of those few people that like, he's always gonna speak his mind.
What happened to the artist? What you gotta say? If I was on a label, you could drop me today. I'll be fine with it, cause the heart fed my page. I want a ceasefire, fuck a response from Drake. What you willing to risk? What you willing to give? What if you were in Gaza? What if those were your kids? If the West was pretending that you didn't exist, you want the world to stand up, and the students finally did. Let's get it.
Hopefully those that are mad about some of my comments wait till the end so we can talk a little bit more. I want to make sure we let this play out. I could rock with that. So, because there's a lot of things that I said, and even myself, I can come up with arguments against some of the stuff that I said, right? Like when I'm like, yo, people are going to care about their bubble first, their family, their job, their livelihood, before they're going to be able to care about other people's. And it doesn't mean that they won't then push the narrative to help some other people, but they're going to make sure that they're good first, right? And so if you're disrupting that, them going to work, you're making them late, potentially getting them fired, they're trying to get to someone's house to help out with something, like anything like that, like you're going to turn them potentially against your cause, or they'll care what's going on over there, but they're not going to join you now because they're like, you know what, this is stupid. And I know that sounds very ignorant and short-sighted, but at the same time, like it's just human nature, right? So I feel like we need to take that kind of stuff into account. Now, at the same time, you can argue, well, if we don't stop stuff like this from happening, if we don't push this narrative, inevitably it will happen to your kids. It will happen to your family. Your bubble will get disrupted. That's why we're pushing and trying to stop certain things from happening. That is also an argument that does make sense. So again, I'm sure some people got upset by some of the things that I said throughout this. I am not trying to play on one side or the other, because I don't feel like fully picking a side makes much sense. I feel like supporting the stuff that needs to be supported is important, but I also feel like trying to understand the side of it from people that maybe don't agree with some of the methods it doesn't mean that you have to like throw them under the bus, right? Like if anything, find a way to reach them, to have a better understanding of each other, to try to bring them on to the movement that you're trying to do. You know what I'm saying? Instead of just fighting against each other and completely pushing people away, because that's what happens in life. When people start to fight and argue and shit starts to get nasty and people start to have disagreements and everything, they don't turn around and say, you know what, let's work together. Like the bridge just gets further and further and further apart, right? And we don't want that. We want to bridge that gap to have as many people on board with trying to stop some of this horrible shit from happening as we possibly can. And sometimes that means that we've got to let our guard down, that we got to put that aggressiveness aside and really try to understand where the other side is coming from and maybe find different methods and ways that work for everybody. And I don't know. Listen, I'm chatting. I'm just one person. I don't have the answer to this shit. I really don't. All I know is that I can see both sides of it, and I feel like I'm one of those people that's in the minority, and as far as like having that kind of understanding. And a lot of times I feel like it just gets me shit on because then both sides don't like me. One side is like, well, you should be on this side because this and this. Well, you should be on this side because this and this. And I tend to try to play that middleman role, and there's not as many people here. And I feel like that it just, it doesn't do well for me. If I picked a side, I'd have way more people that are like, yeah, rah, rah, rah. But I just doesn't feel right to me to do that because again, I don't think that life is about just picking a side and fighting the other side. I feel like it's about trying to find a middle ground and understand both sides and try to come up with something that works, right? So in me talking right now, I'm just talking on the spot. Like if I were to sit and really take time to think all this through, I might have some different opinions on it, but again, it would still be going towards how do I make everybody work together? How do I not disrupt people's lives, but also get the message across, right? And I'm not saying that I'd be the one to figure it out, but that would be where my mentality lies. And I think that that's where everyone's mentality should lie instead of just being like strongly, extremely on one side or the other. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I thought this was dope music. Like as far as he sounded good, regardless of what was being talked about, but the message is important. The message is important, and I feel like it's good as an artist that somebody decided to put something like this out. So I'm curious what you guys think after all my chatting and bullshitting. Appreciate you. Don't get too upset with me. I'll catch you in the next one, homies.